Okay, so welcome to today's deep dive. We are analyzing a single primary source today.
Yeah, and it is a really fascinating one.
Right, it's the English Standard Version text of Psalm 66 titled, How Awesome Are Your Deeds, which is addressed to the choir master. So our mission today is to trace the narrative arc of this ancient psalm.
Because it shifts in such a dramatic way. I mean, it goes from these earth-shattering global events down to a really intensely personal account of hardship and, gratitude.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this. Reading this text is honestly like watching a movie that starts with a wide drone shot of the whole Earth.
Yeah, like at maximum altitude.
Exactly. And then it slowly zooms in on one individual's face. The text opens by commanding all the earth to shout for joy,
Right. It references these massive macro historical events,
like God turning the sea into dry land so people can cross rivers on foot.
which paints a picture of power so absolute that enemies are just forced to cringe.
But then it takes this severe turn, almost jarring, really. It goes straight into extreme collective hardship.
Yeah, a brutal testing phase.
God brings the people into a net, lays a crushing burden on their backs, and lets men ride over their heads through fire and water. So what does this all mean? If God's power makes enemies cringe, why this brutal testing phase for his own people?
What's fascinating here is how the text forces you to confront that paradox head on. It places divine protection right side by side with deliberate, crushing trials.
Right, like it's not an accident.
Exactly. The hardship is framed as an intentional, necessary process.
Is that why the text uses that specific analogy? It says, you have tried us as silver is tried.
Yes, the metallurgical analogy.
Right, because to refine silver, you can't just lightly dust it off. You need a crucible. Extreme heat is mandatory to burn off the impurities.
And the author is stating that the hardship is that fire. But, the fire eventually burns out.
Thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully. The text explicitly notes that after the fire and water, the people are brought out to a place of abundance.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because right at that moment of safety, the narrative perspective completely shifts.
The camera finishes its zoom.
Yes,
Right.
the collective we totally vanishes, and we get this very intimate I. The speaker suddenly gets deeply personal and focuses on their own livestock.
Which feels like a strange pivot, right after surviving a collective trauma.
It really does. They start committing to fulfilling vows they made when they were in trouble. Promising massive sacrifices, burnt offerings of fattened animals, rams, bulls, and goats.
It seems almost transactional on the surface.
Exactly. Promising all this livestock just because a distress call was answered. And they even state that if they had cherished iniquity in their heart, the Lord wouldn't have listened.
Right, meaning if they were secretly holding on to toxic habits or sin, their prayer would have been ignored.
Yeah.
But God did attend to their prayer.
So why does this matter? Why does this one person's answered prayer matter to the giant historical epic we started with?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, in the ancient mindset, historical epics like parting a sea are abstract till you experience deliverance yourself.
Oh, wow. So it makes the macro events real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When this person's deeply personal distress call gets answered, it proves that the God of those macro historical legends is actively operating in their present microscopic reality.
That is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, the individual survival validates that opening drone shot.
Which brings up why you, as a listener, should care about this ancient text. It models a remarkably resilient, timeless human framework for processing hardship.
Right, it's about recognizing when you've been dragged through the fire and water.
Yeah, and deliberately acknowledging when you finally reach that place of abundance.
Because people so often forget to acknowledge the arrival. They survive the crucible, but they just keep bracing for the next fire.
Instead of recognizing the abundance in front of them.
Exactly.
And there is one final detail hidden in this source text that forces that exact recognition. Throughout this psalm, in verses 4, 7, and 15, there is an untranslated word left in the text. Selah.
Which indicates a mandatory pause, right?
Yes. A moment to stop and let the weight of the previous thought sink in.
Which we almost never do today.
No, we don't. In our modern, nonstop information age, what would change if you built mandatory sillas into your own daily trials and victories, moments of forced, silent reflection? So when the drone shot of your life finally zooms in on your face, maybe the best thing you can do is just pause.